If I believe there's a reason for this pain I'm going through, if I believe that leaving me was all that you could do, if I believe that I can feel you by my side, I'll make it through the night. If I believe that time will teach me how to find my way, if I believe that broken hearts grow stronger every day, if I believe that now you're dancing across the sky, I just might get by. If I believe that memories won't always hurt this much, if I believe that I will see your face again, I can wait till then. If I believe I'll hold you in my arms again, I can wait. I know that I can wait. I can wait till then. I can wait till then.
Welcome to the Somerville Overcoming Addiction Show. My name is Joanne, and tonight's guest is Nancy Smith.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Oh, thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're welcome.
This is going to be an unusual kind of interview. It's my phone.
Spirit is calling.
Yes, I think
They want
so.
you to know we're here, we're here.
In the background, we have, is it Divine
Love Affair.
Love Affair.
An Akashic journey, yeah.
Akashic
Journey, yeah.
Journey. And what is the Akashic reader?
Journey is about connecting to your soul and your soul's journey through space and time. So when we're caught up in a lot of sorrow in this lifetime, or grief, or our kids are making us crazy, sometimes we step back into seeing, there's a bigger picture to see, a picture of past lives, or a picture of what our soul came here to experience. And that's the Akasha, that's the energy of the Creator, is what, it's divine unconditional love. And that's where we came from, and that's where we're going to, and we're just in this, trying to remember it. So the Akashic record reading that I would do for somebody would include mediumship, but would also include a connection to your soul. Kind of like, here's why you came, here's what you're trying to figure out, and here's where you're helping your family do these specific things. So that's a lot of tools in the soul work to help us with our lifetime.
It's totally amazing. You know, I've always wondered, why am I here?
Right? Yeah.
Have you ever thought, you know?
All the time.
That's right. And then you say,
Yeah.
well, that was my purpose. No, and then as a few years go along, you find another purpose. It's like I think that
Yeah,
we're here, but we're here to do many things and not just
correct.
one journey.
I agree that our lives are multifaceted, and oh my God, aren't they? Seriously, I mean, we wear so many hats, and how many hats would you put on in a date in just one day?
At least 4.
Yeah, at least. So
Maybe more.
yeah, yeah. When we forget the roles that we play, we've got the caretaker role, or the good employee role, or the compassionate friend role. But then we have the witness role, and then we have the crabby person who can't stand this anymore role. And all those count, all those matter. And everything that we do in our lives, everything that we feel and learn goes back to our spirit, which goes back to our soul, which goes back to the Creator, to say, hey, this is what's going on down here. This is what we're learning. And then we get a lot of help without realizing it. As the Creator and our soul sees what we're doing, then we can, believe it or not, we get that invisible help. We can get that invisible understanding and compassion that can come from higher power. Lots of times we forget, excuse me, when we're in a lot of pain, or when we're totally freaking aggravated with stuff, we forget that there's more to us than what's right in front of us. And especially if we have an illness, or we're under stress, or we have to pay such a huge bill and the bank account goes empty, that we feel that that stress brings us into the day, and we just like our hamster wheels going on and on. So we step back and we get off the hamster wheel for a little bit and look at your soul, look at the big picture that is in your spirit, and that can change up everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It is amazing because, like I said, I wear plenty of hats. And then all of a sudden, I've learned to be able to deal with every situation that comes my way. And a lot of times in the very, very beginning, when you have so much stress, you can't really think or focus.
Correct.
So you have to learn how to be able to do that.
Learn how to do that, or take a breath and know that somewhere, something and someone's got your back, and that's usually your soul, that's usually a higher power, and or an angel, or a loved one that's in spirit. And it's, I feel hard to remember that when, when you have a lot of hangnails, you just, all you can focus on is that pain. But I like to train people and remind people to take that step back, take that deep breath, just for a moment, just for like 5 moments. Be in the moment.
I'm doing it.
And there's even a science behind it. As we just breathe and relax and we stop thinking, our brain, a part of our brain, I think they call it the alpha wave, but it's always going, But when we calm everything down, even whether we can meditate or not, the alpha brain starts to work, and that's where our highest creativity is. And that's where the connection is to an understanding of a higher power that's in operation. So that's why take a deep breath, take a walk, or just don't engage anymore just for 5 minutes and relax. That is a great tool to use for people who are grieving the loss of their loved ones. I've used that. My father just passed recently, just December 26th. I don't even think we had a Christmas this year in that sense, but when I just sometimes have to stop whatever I'm doing, trying to catch up from all the work I got behind on, and just remember where I am, just put my feet down on the floor and just put my hand on my heart and just say, I'm here, and everything's okay. And that's a great strategy for getting through grief, I feel.
Well, it was really hard for me. And I went through lots of different stages. I don't know if you know that I lost my son.
No, thank you for telling me that.
All right, so exactly 10 years, November 15th, I found my son had passed away in his room, and he had overdosed.
I'm so sorry.
What happens is that he fought an addiction for over 10 years. He had a motorcycle accident, and I put him on OxyContin. So he battled and battled for over 10 years, and then the last thing he did was heroin. So the last 4 months of his life, he had heroin.
Did you have that bad heroin? They've been mixing stuff in the heroin lately that's been causing
Either
more
that or
overdoses.
it may not have been that. It may have been, it was an acute, but I think it's because he took too much.
I see. Well,
I don't think that it was fentanyl or, no. The autopsy report came back and it was like acute
just acute usage, too much.
opioid.
Oh, all right.
But
Yeah.
it was not, I mean, a lot of things will go through your mind, but I will tell you this, that 3 days before he died, he cried and he said he didn't want to die. So he probably had a premonition that it was going to happen.
Yeah, a lot of people have premonitions. I've seen that.
And I said, oh no, don't worry, you're not gonna, and I should have listened more. I mean, I don't have any, I helped my son his whole life. I still help my younger son who's in recovery. And it's like, I'll always be a mother that cares about your children no matter what.
So you have both kids who are struggled with substance abuse. That, I can't imagine what you've been through. That
It wasn't easy.
takes a lot. I just wanted to make a comment about when I call the Akashic Records, or I talk about the soul pathway. Sometimes we have agreements with souls that want to have a certain experience. So we'll be the caretaker, we'll be the helper, and that other person will be, I'll be the struggle. I'm going to take my life all the way to the edge and back again, and you're going to be there to help me with that. And it's hard to say this, but sometimes we agree to do that beforehand. Not that we always know what we're agreeing to or how far it's going to go or how far somebody's going to take it, but that unconditional love, we name it codependence, or we name it, what is the other word, enabler. And we lose track of what unconditional love is and support. When you held your son and he was crying and said, how could you know what the future is? You even.
But then I always had the feeling that I was going to bury him.
Yeah, see, right? You had a premonition as well. I feel like walking in a situation like that, I'm giving you advice and I don't really mean to, is just for compassion for yourself. But then there's compassion for your son, compassion for the other child who is struggling with addiction. I'm not sure what is going on in our world to have so many young people addicted, or maybe I'm just naive about this, but I feel like we're walking each other through a deep soul level understanding of what life's all about and what creating while we're alive in human form. And sometimes we just, I don't know why some people want to come in and create destructiveness. Doesn't make sense. I don't know, but if you know what I mean. But having compassion for yourself is probably really key in all of this. And if I were in any parent that I talk to who I've brought in loved ones who have passed like that, it's really coming, the message, there's multiple messages, but the same message I hear, Mom and Dad, you were great. You showed me what it was to be loved. You showed me how to love myself. I didn't listen. I went in a total different direction, but I didn't miss what you were telling me. And then they take that experience to the other side and they really grow with it. They really learn with it. And life is over when it's over here, the human life, but when we're on the other side, there's so much growth and so much learning. So that the love and the compassion that, for instance, you gave to your son when you held him, it means millions of miles worth of learning and progress once he gets to the other side. And we don't see that, so we don't know, so we forget it. And the other piece is oftentimes there's I have to say this, and I'm not sure why, but when I bring people from the other side who have overdosed, they're surprised. They really aren't connected to that this could actually happen. Some of them are, like your son was, and some of them are like, what was that all about? And most of them have grandparents or people that love them dearly that are already on the other side meeting them. It's a shock on this side, but everyone is ready. There's so many loving people on both sides that are helping these people who, like your son or the other woman that I talked to a few days ago with her daughter, and how it was orchestrated. They knew on the other side that this was a problem. They knew that it was time to be there close. There's tons of intervention on the other side from the angels, from the loved ones, trying to get another perspective happening. But I'm under the impression sometimes that our brain cells change and our thinking goes a little wonky when we're using stuff. We're not thinking in a productive way or a logical way, or we have no sense of well-being when we're addicted to something. We just go for the addiction.
They do change.
So does alcohol, so does, so many things. But so the soul meaning and bringing purpose into the passing and losing of a loved one, or struggling through an addiction, trying to stay sober, trying to clean up. The soul tools are sometimes what really helps us. Just quieting down, putting your hand on your heart and just, okay, I'm here. Just breathe. That's all you have to do right now. Just breathe, feel your feet, and get here. And sometimes you have to do that like every 10 minutes until you're feeling stronger, that you can walk through and walk through.
'Cause I know that when I first lost my son, my mind was constantly traveling in all different directions. I didn't know actually what I wanted to do. I took a couple of months off from work, and I started playing games. You know what I mean? Whatever you could do to try to get you through the experience that you've gone through, and stay sane.
Exactly. Take breaks from the reality of it.
It's tough. It was very, very tough, but here it is 10 years later. And I think that I'll always love my son. I miss him dearly. I wish he was here. I mean, there's a lot of things that happen in the course of a day that the song that he says was, "My song will come on." Or I'll be shopping and all of a sudden I'll think of him. Or he was a postal worker, so if sometimes you'll see a postal worker that walks like him, I mean, they all dress the same.
Yeah,
you
he
know what
had
I mean?
a little
Yeah,
jump in
and that
his
brings
step.
me,
Yeah,
yes, a lot of, I think of him every day, but some days a little bit more than others because of these things that occur.
Yeah, so I have an idea for you, and anybody else. If you see somebody that reminds you of him, or he's in your mind more often, he's there with you. And just take that quiet moment. I love to put my hand on my heart because it centers me into my spirit. And be quiet for a moment and let him just breathe in and breathe out, and let him, through your imagination, touch your hand or put his hand on your shoulder or kiss your cheek. It starts with your imagination, but as you get more and more quiet, you're thinking about him because he's right there with you. Mm-hmm. Not that he wants to remind you of your grief or your sorrow, but he wants to remind you that he loves you.
Oh, definitely.
And that he's supporting you. And especially, is it his brother? You have the son here that's alive, that's struggling. He's really there with his brother.
Actually, he's had 9 years of recovery. So at least it's still, no matter what, it's still.
Oh, it's still, it'll
always be a struggle.
It's a struggle, but I have to say, let him draw close in a different way. It's like building a new relationship with your son, only he's on the spirit side, and you're no longer in a maternal mother nurturing relationship. You're in a spiritual relationship.
Right.
He has a lot to say to you. He has a lot of comfort to give you, but also courage. I feel that if he was going to say to you, he would say, "You are the most courageous woman I've ever known, because you've taken."
He has said that.
Yeah.
Along with, my mother really knows how to have, how to live.
You have a good time. You know how to have a good.
He would say that to me. Well, I used to like going out dancing.
Oh, yeah.
I was married for 32 years and I got divorced. And along with that, I started to do, go out dancing and singing, and I do karaoke and all of that sort of thing. And I went out quite a bit and enjoyed life.
Good for you.
Because I was no longer stagnant, staying home, being a housewife.
Honest to God, I'm sure he was out there dancing with you.
And him and I did go out one time, and he sang karaoke with me.
Oh, fun.
It was fun. My blue suede shoes, that's what he said.
Yeah. Do you ever have a time when you're singing the karaoke or you're dancing and you feel like there's a little extra boost, or the voice comes out a little more clearly, or you hit the note a little bit better? That's your son helping you do that.
Well, you know what song is the top song that I sing when I'm out there? White Rabbit by Jefferson Airplane.
Oh, yeah,
and it's about drugs.
Yeah.
And I go out and I sing it. And every time I do sing it, it's amazing how many people come up and say, "Oh my God, you sound just like her." I made it a point
Wow. Wow.
to really sing that song, you know, with my whole heart. You know, and I do think about him. And I think about a lot of people that are having the same situation as I do. And the thing is that what helped me was helping other people. And it's always been that way. You know, even when my mother passed away at 49, I was just getting married in 9 months, and I was there for my whole family, you know, helping them, being able to deal with her loss when I was actually crippled and in pain myself.
So that helping other people help pull you out of the pain, give you a break from the pain, which a lot of people who are caretakers like you, that's how they manage it. But you do need to not wallow in it, but do check in, even if it's for a couple minutes.
Right.
Yeah, I'm feeling real bad. And give yourself that nurturing and that caring, and just let that energy, or that it's energy in motion, emotions are. And when we push them down and they can't move anymore, then that's where the pain is really, really bad. But if we breathe into them and allow them to finish their cycle, and what I mean is by finishing the cycle is I feel really bad, I'm going to sit with it, I'm going to just love myself through this pain. And not, you know, I'm going to give it 5 minutes, or I'm going to give it 10 minutes, and then get up and do something else for as long as you can. And if you get interrupted by the pain, sit with it for another little. Love yourself. Don't try to fix anything. It's like you're holding yourself in a big bear hug, or I like to imagine that my soul, who knows exactly who I am, who looks just like me, only better, will just hold me. Just hold me while I hold myself and cry. And believe it or not, I do it enough times, my focus starts to return a little bit. I start to find little interesting projects to do that distract me. So that is a good way to allow that energy and emotion to continue without it overwhelming you. So when I get overwhelmed with my sadness, I'll kind of keep an eye on believe it or not, I do. I keep an eye on the clock. I ask Spirit to help me. I ask my soul to come in, and then I'm stronger after that, because I have a sense of not being alone. And I think everyone has that opportunity to try that. So next time you're getting distracted, ask your soul to hold you, but invite in your son too, because I feel like he's much stronger on the other side, and I feel like you two have a much better relationship now after all these years. He's got your back.
We actually had a good relationship anyway, which is good. He would be very honest with me. Both my children and I have a good relationship. I say talking like he's still here, but yeah. And the one thing he said to me, I don't know if you ever heard the song "The Climb" by Miley Cyrus.
Oh my gosh. I don't
You know, like going over to the other side, over the hill, you know, over the mountain.
I gotta know
because of, you know, divorce and what was going on with their addictions, you know, he just said, "Mom, you know, that's your song." So with that, I'm going to tell you what happened. I was sitting in my living room a week after I had lost my son with my niece, and we were talking, and I don't know if we were probably talking about him. And all of a sudden, that song came on.
No kidding.
And I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I looked at her and I said, "You're going to think I'm crazy, but I just got a bear hug." And she said, "I did too."
Love it. Love
So
it.
the two of us were very, very close to him. He worried about the two of us. And it's amazing. Some people might look at me like I'm crazy.
I don't think
But the
people
thing
do
is
anymore.
that
Yeah.
it did happen.
I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah. And that was 1 week later. But we've never really connected. And I've talked to a lot of people, a lot of mediumship. And I said, you know, I think that you and I are going to have a session. And I would love to see who comes through. Because it may not always be your own child that comes through. It could be other people. And one time I did go to a woman, and my mother and my mother-in-law came in, and they told me to enjoy my life.
Right. I find a lot of times when I'm doing a mediumship reading, I always ask people to take the first one And whether you say, I don't want to hear from Aunt Ethel, or I don't want to hear from that one, why would she come through? Because they're bringing the next spirit, then they're bringing the next spirit, and they have a really important message to give you. And sometimes when the ones who are our grandparents or our great aunts and uncles have a sense of the family structure or have a sense of the flow of the family. A lot of parents I talk to are feeling remorseful or guilty. I should have known, or I didn't catch this thing, or maybe it was the time when I ignored her when the baby came and I had to pay more attention to the baby, or just the things that we pull out of our heads to think what we did wrong. Guilt and uncertainty. And so allowing those like ancestors, but allowing those elders to come through and talk to us about, you're doing great in the family structure. You did just fine. So they help us find our position in our world, in our life, and they comfort us. And then, you know, your son, or then the big guy comes in that really broke your heart and starts to talk. And so you have a memory of the strength of your family. That's, I think, real important. Really, really important. Sometimes our family has let us down. Dad wasn't so great, or mom wasn't so great, or the reason that my son is this way because we've had that history in our whole family. And then by just talking through a medium, or talking to, or did you sit with your son quietly, or you could even sit with those relatives that bug the heck out of you, and just get peace with them so that you can have peace within yourself. Because we heal, the ones who are alive right now are the ones who are healing the humanity, or healing the lifetimes. Those on the other side are helping us to heal. They're already there, they're already healing, they're already doing their work, but there's something magical about doing our work now that helps them on the other side. So it's, believe it or not, it's really important. That forgiveness, that untethering yourself from the drama of all that, so that you can be that, feel free to be that loving, caring person again without having the labels of codependent or enabler and all those things that break our hearts to think, I did it wrong, I should have done this, I shouldn't do that. We can let that go and go back into our loving presence. Not in an unhealthy way, but we got to remember that we're from love and we're going to love. And some of us who are caretakers already know that. It's just people around us are trying to figure it out. So we're bringing it back to it. You brought a lot of life and a lot of gifts to your family. You still are. And you're the reminder that life is worth living, life is love, life is beautiful. And that message is pretty hard to keep saying that over and over again when people that we love are not showing that to us. We're sort of like the flame where we hold that life, I call it the life fire that's in our heart, the spirit. So we remind.
You know, I look at it this way. I mean, the story was not really about me, but but I'm just saying that I give, but I'm not expecting anything back. And I think that's a good way of doing things, because when you feel a certain way, expectations of other people.
Right.
And the thing is that I don't have them.
That is such a gift.
And that is a good thing.
Yeah.
Because that way you really can't get hurt. You know, you might say, oh, you know, I wish this could have happened, but it didn't, so that's okay.
But you also, what you do with that, it's a good self-protective tool, but also by giving without expecting back, and I'm being altruistic here, is that you are holding the energy, or you're holding the image or the belief that that person can also, when they're ready, on their own time, in their own way, engage with that positive thinking as well. When we project onto somebody, I'm going to be really good to you, so therefore you're going to be really good. So if I do this, this, and this, you're going to get sober, and you're going to survive, and you're going to be okay. When the fact is, the pressure or the expectations alienate that person who's struggling away from us. I'm not an expert at this at all, but I know that when we love without attachment, that love goes, it has the freedom, if we're talking energetically as a medium, not as a psychologist, but that energy has more freedom to just flow to the other person and go where it needs to go. We're not telling it where to go. We're asking for the highest and best, better than I could ever imagine. Prayer, oh my God, prayer is so powerful. And when you're in that place of loving someone without expectation, you're in a prayerful place. And that's a beautiful place to be.
Yeah.
Whether all the psychologists in the world don't agree with me, or they do or not, it doesn't matter. But when you can hold somebody in your heart with no expectations and dream for them to find their happiness. That's sacred. That's
Well, I mean, sometimes I think it's sad when you try to help, you can't help them.
oh, I know.
And that is so devastating, that you see what is happening to them, and you wish you could just shake them and say, stop.
I know. Yeah.
you can't.
Yeah. No, you can't.
All right, so what you have to do is just sit back and feel and be in agony a lot of the times about watching your child or a loved one deteriorate, their health deteriorate, because they're not able to give themselves the opportunity to get help.
To get help and have a life and have a sense of well-being and
Yeah, I
all
think
that
about
stuff.
it too. It's like, okay, so here I am, I'm going, okay, say I went to the Dominican, and it's like, these are things that they should be enjoying life. Working, vacationing, having families, all the good things in life. And when you don't see that happening because they're so stuck in a situation with addiction, it's pretty sad.
It is.
And, and addiction is a family disease that it affects everyone around you when you have an addiction.
It does. I've seen it a little bit in my family, and I've seen it a lot more in the people that I work with. And the piece of it is, somebody has said this once, I've said it 1,000 times, that spirit wants you to still be standing, no matter what this other person does. So there needs to be an awareness of what's happening to you on a soulful level, or what's happening to you on a spirit level. And it's okay to say, this is as far as I can go, and give it to the hands of God, so that you are still standing and you're still, you're not so shattered that you're not whole anymore. Being whole, being healthy, taking care of yourself may feel selfish in a time when somebody is struggling so much. Some parents feel like, I took my eyes off of him or her for 2 minutes and they disappeared and they were gone for 3 days. They should have looked harder, and then we found, the body, or we found this, or they're disappeared. Now they're homeless and God knows where they are. You pray and you have a lot of compassion, but you can't make choices for that other person.
No.
So what do you do with yourself rather than falling into part? Come into that strength of yourself. You're in it's kind of dark night of the soul. What did I do to cause this to happen? When there's maybe another viewpoint is to say, I have done all that I could do. They're on their soul's journey, and pray for them. And then say, what is my soul's journey with this? What is my life's journey with this? And forgive yourself as well as forgiving them. I think as parents and loved ones, we have a harder time forgiving ourselves. And that's a kind of a protection and control thing as well. Because if I can control it, I can make it okay. And if I can work at it a little bit harder and it's okay, I'll be okay. And sometimes we have to find a way, and this is a very soulful, spiritual way. I'm okay and connected with my soul and spirit, and that's not a selfish thing to be. It's an okay thing to be. It's a powerful way to be. In that, as I tell to my clients a lot, or my students a lot, in order to bring healing into a room, or healing to yourself, or healing for another person, first they have to decide they want the healing to begin with. But we have to be totally aligned with ourselves. We have to be loving ourselves, forgiving ourselves, in alignment with our higher power, in alignment with Spirit, the Creator, if we want to create a healing situation. And so if we're off going nuts, we're not in that place of healing, whatever the healing capacity is in that moment. But we also, the person that we're working with, that we're caretaking, if they're not willing to go there, their journey's not over with the addiction. Sometimes you just have to let it go. It's like, often look at when I hear parents talk about it, sometimes I feel like, and you probably do too, we're watching cancer, or we're watching some horrible disease happen that we have no control over. And it's going to do what it's going to do. So we wouldn't not love that person who's dying of cancer. I can't believe I'm saying this, because I'm like one of the biggest control freaks ever. I want to fix everything. But as we watch them go through their life, and maybe their life means, for some reason, they got some karmic thing, or there's some soul lesson that they have to figure out. And part of being addicted to something is part of that thing they're figuring out. I don't think anyone really understands it till we're on the other side having a long conversation with the angels and with the spirits saying, well, what were you thinking about? But the forgiveness.
Right.
piece.
See, the thing with Frank is that he had a motorcycle accident, and that's what started his addiction.
Because of the painkillers.
Because he liked alcohol. He didn't like other drugs. You know how a lot of people experiment in their youth. You know, some don't, but a majority of them do.
So,
And he didn't like anything like that. But when he had his motorcycle accident and had to have surgery, the first thing they did, he was in a lot of pain. So they did put him on painkillers, and he asked them if they were addictive in the hospital.
yeah.
And he didn't really get an answer to that, but yet the pain level was so bad
Yeah.
that even I was saying, give him something for pain. You know,
Yeah.
I was there for 2 days and in the chair next to him. And it's like I just wanted to cry and scream, you know what I mean, for him because of the pain that he was
I
in.
can imagine. Well, that story is very common, and there we do have physiology within our bodies. People are more sensitive and more sensitive to becoming addicted to stuff. I know the medical industry is trying really hard to find other ways to manage pain besides these opioids, and I've been hearing amazing stories. But I sometimes also wonder, like, again, what is the place of not being able to handle pain within your soul, within your own spirit? You know what I mean? That's always been a mystery to me. It's that sometimes I think that we have the wrong way of handling pain, and I don't want putting a label on it or something like this. But how else can we manage when we're out of our bodies or we're out of this whole structure of a well-being? I can't imagine I've had, abdominal surgery. That is like frickin' painful. And the pain medicines, I have the system where I just would puke it all out. I just can't hold it in my body. I can't be drunk.
So you would never have a problem with that because
No,
you
I
can't
wouldn't.
hold it down.
But then I know plenty of people who, once it's in their system, they have no way of fighting it. And that also could that's another dark night of the soul. What is it that I have to do within myself to bring myself into alignment where I can work without this addiction? I know that it's a physiological thing. It's a chemical thing,
Right.
And but there are modalities sometimes people need to do. I love shamanic journeying, and I love just different soul retrieval work, or just pieces of pulling that aspect, that strong aspect of yourself that is your spiritual aspect, that can conquer or work with or support your journey out of where you're out of balance. That's a real personal journey. We can ask somebody, bring lead a horse to water, and you can't make him drink. I don't have any answers for when the horse doesn't drink.
Right,
Except for prayers,
absolutely.
that kind of thing.
So what I do want to say is, you have do you have a radio show
I have
tomorrow?
a radio show, every Tuesday night, and it's on boldbravemedia.com/angelscapes, because that's the name of my company's Angelscapes. And in that radio show, I'm on number 15 tomorrow night. I've done a whole series of soul power living, where each week I've gone through different techniques or different exercises and thoughts on how you access that power of your soul and how you build that connection up within yourself, which includes building up your own intuition, and I call them your superpowers, your clairsentient, which is your clear feeling. We have our feelings that run around, but if we can get that quiet place where we have a clear feeling that's connected to our soul, that's very powerful. Clairvoyant, clairaudient. And we usually assign those or ascribe those to psychics or mediums, but I feel like everyone can access those and hear the power and the voice of their soul. So that's archived. And then tomorrow night we're going to talk about angels. I have a friend, Laura.
Listen, could you tell them again how to?
So it's Bold Brave Media.
Bold, B-O-L-D.
B-O-L-D, Brave, B-R-A-V-E, media.com /Angelscapes, and I'm on channel 100, at 8 o'clock on Tuesday night. So you should be able to find me if you go.
Is it an hour long or a half
Hour-long show, and you can just call-in number. I'll be giving you a call-in number, so you
really?
can call and get a one-card reading, or just get an intuitive reading, or or spirit will going to come through for a mediumship reading. I never know what's going to happen.
So we are going to have to sit and talk. Maybe we'll
Yes.
go up to Newburyport and
Yeah,
see.
you do. Another thing that I do is when I bring people through mediumship-wise, I draw their pictures. So if you go to angelscapes.net, you can look at my portrait or my artwork, and you'll see all the drawings that I've done of people in spirit. So as I read and I draw, it helps bring that home, and I've never seen a picture of whoever it is that I'm talking to, and you can see like similarities of those faces, and that helps the message to come home a little bit, to be more clear. This one drawing, this woman called her from California. I didn't see her. I only heard her voice on the phone, and I drew her son. I brought her son through, and I drew him, and he had this long, narrow face and this long, narrow nose, and I kept drawing all this hair around him, and I'm like, oh, this has got to be nuts. What am I drawing all this hair? She sent me a picture. Exactly, he had a fro down to his waist, and she just caught her breath when she saw the photo, and I could just hear the tears coming up. She goes, that's him. I know he's okay. And it was very lovely. And it's very lovely to feel how they're okay on the other side, how they feel much better. They're still working through their stuff, but the physiology and the chemistry of being addicted, it's not there anymore. So the pain and the mental problems or the emotional problems, they're working through it. They have the freedom now to work through it that maybe they didn't have here in the physical form. And
Maybe that's the spirits up there.
I know, he's moving furniture around, getting ready for a party.
I'm sorry. It's just that to me it's distracting.
Yeah.
But no one really hears it, but
Okay.
us.
So just for the people who are watching, there's a lot of noise up there.
Yeah, there's a lot of noise up there.
Yeah. So we
No, I think that's wonderful, and that's why I wanted people to know what you do and how you not only speak to the spirits, that you draw who you're speaking to.
yes.
And that to me is in itself is amazing. And I've seen some of your work. You're a pretty good artist.
Oh, thanks. Oh my gosh, you did. Oh, thanks. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
No, I
crazy.
made sure I looked into you and what you do. And plus Barbara, who we've had on the show, had a lot of nice things to say
that's
about
nice.
you.
Yeah, I think I drew a picture. I think it was her son. She said it wasn't that. There were similarities there. She seemed pretty happy with it. She seemed very comforted by it. It was amazing. Sometimes we get pictures like for Barbara's reading. I can't really say too much about that, but
Right.
all of a sudden spirit will start chatting up about things that you've always wondered about but never thought to ask, and then they're filling in the blanks and saying, the time I did such and such, well, this is what I was thinking, and now I'm watching you do it, and you don't have to worry about that anymore. And it's lovely when they can talk to us, talk us off the wall, I call it, talk you down.
No,
from
I've
the
been to a
ceiling.
few meetings. One says to me, boy, is he a character? And I said, yeah, he is. He was.
He was. He still
still
is.
is.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
He says, he watches over you. I said, yeah, I know. I feel that. I feel that he's here.
Yeah, they watch over you, but they also learn. I remember having a couple of them, at least one, wasn't heavily college educated, it's kind of, was interested in certain things, but he went on to the other side and he wanted to learn about DNA and biology. And he was just studying all about that. He was saying things to the family. I think there was some kind of inherited illness. And he was determined to find out what that was about and how he could help the family as the generations moved on. And he did come up with some really good observations from having done all that work on the other side, that the family, it made sense to the person I was reading for, and she hadn't thought of it before. And that was very heartwarming. Spirit does grow and learn. They don't stay. They don't stay where they were. They're moving on. And they're usually pretty thoughtful, unless they want to just, go travel the world, which they sometimes like to do. You'll find them off. I went to Egypt this year. I just dropped in from Paris. That it's just this curiosity without restrictions. That's fun. really fun to know that happens on the other
So
side.
the soul leaves your body, but there are generations, like you could be reborn.
I know, everyone wonders, but that is so tricky, but we have our spirit, that is our personality and our essence. And our essence is attached to something bigger, that's our soul. And when we leave, our awareness of ourself is intact, our personality, our foibles, if all of that stuff. If we were bad in math here, we're probably not going to be great in math. Or if we were bad with money here, I wouldn't go back to that relative to get financial advice, to be honest with you. But they're growing and learning. So then the soul wants to express another lifetime. And that information within the soul and that experience within the soul is available to the spirit, to the essence, because they're connected, they're all one. And that's about as far as I can explain it, because I feel like it's part of a mystery. But we're still intact, we're still individuals, and we can still access those individuals through past life memories as much as we can access when we were 2 years old or 3 years old. And we have, in those past lives, we can have issues that our soul's struggling with to learn. So maybe there'll be a soul that is having trouble interacting with others. So the soul will set itself up for a series of experiences where it really needs to learn to interact with others better, play team player, because this soul's very much an individual. Or you'll have a soul that is a very creative soul but has trouble being responsible for what it's, believe it or not, souls aren't perfect, to being responsible for what he or she has created through their life. And so there's a soul movement. So you can see, as you do past life regressions, you can see a theme of what it is your soul's working with, which is blended in with your essence. And that's probably you're working with on some level. What's really fun to do is sit down to do it. I did this with a few people lately, is to sit down with the relationships of those who have passed on or those who are still here, of what their soul is trying to figure out in this lifetime, and then compared to what they're figuring out, what the people that they're around loving and supporting, what they're trying to figure out. And we can see the emotions, we can see the energy that they're giving back and forth. And sometimes those readings help you take it less personal and say, oh, this is my role in this, or this is where I am with this. Oh, and that's what that person's doing, but I am not doing that with them. I'm just here supporting, and with this energy here is really going to help them do that over there, but they still have to do their own thing. And so you have, it's less personal, it's more of a perspective. But then you start working on your own thing. Well, I'm the one that's bad at budgeting, and I'm the one that's bad at money. So that's my thing, and I got to stop blaming this one over here for not making enough money, kind of thing. So, but that happens also with addiction and pain in the family, where we talk about codependent and enabling. You pull yourself back into yourself. This is what I'm doing. This is what I can do. This is this is what I can't do, which is in all the serenity prayers and all the prayers of St. Francis. Right. What can I change? What can I can't change? And own and love those that are doing their thing, and then take care of myself. And that's survival. That's where you can go back to the place of well-being. But what is even cooler about that is you think, well, I'm just being selfish and I'm just doing my own thing. But actually, as you are in your own strength and you're healing and you're finding what you need to strengthen within yourself, because you've already made an agreement on a soul level, your work is going to impact their work in a positive way. But if you're not doing your work and you're too far into fixing something that's not yours to fix, you're not in your strength anymore. So the energy that person or the strengths or the talents that you're skipping over, that person needs to see you in, so that will help them. That's the appointment they made with you, and you're not keeping the appointment. They're even doubly lost. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So something maybe your job was to be a loving, caring person, but that had a lot of fun, but that says enough is enough, and you stand on your own 2 feet, and then that person, your son, I'm just making this up, it's not true, right, misses you because you're standing in your strength and you're going off on your own, and they become inspired, or they see the role model and they say, I don't like being where I am now. But if you gave up your whole life and you were just with them, I'm simplifying this so incredibly much, but understanding it, that's what I say, understanding from a soul point of view, your past lives, where your strengths, where your weaknesses. There's a tremendous subtle design in our lives, in the relationships that we have with our, even the my postman down the street, as well as our son, as well as the person that we buy the groceries with, and our mother and our father. It's not planned that we don't have free will, but there is an energetic orchestration that's very important, and it's important that we keep our own appointments. We do our own talents. We have our own minds. We be in our own strength, and do the soul searching, not to tear ourselves apart, but do the soul searching to say, where am I strong? What am I here to do? What is,
Right.
you know, it's,
That's like I tell you, that's what I think about all the time.
yeah.
Well, maybe this is what I was here for. You know,
It feels
I mean,
like it.
I used to help run a youth program for 275 kids for 11 years, and I go, well, maybe that's what I'm supposed to be here for, you know. And I work with the lots of people when it comes to addiction, and well, maybe that's what I'm here for.
So,
But the thing is that when Frank passed away, it was I wanted to help others where I couldn't help him.
But you have a gift, in what I would work with you, or what I work with people, is to take a look at that and then go a little deeper, use the tools and go a little deeper to find what the current is of, because I feel like if you take oh, I meant to do this, oh no, I meant to do this, there's a common thread there that maybe you haven't pulled that thread yet and seen it and understood it. Because if you have a sense of, this is what I'm supposed to do, but it feels like it's so many, it's like a diamond. It's many, many facets, but it's the same diamond.
Right.
And to find that diamond in our lives, that's what I help people do. Because sometimes we mismatch and we think the should over here and this plan over here, and we're like, why is this falling apart? We haven't on that curtain, but I don't see you as falling apart. I see you as experiencing this deep river that you have of compassion and strength, and your compassion and strength challenges others to find their strengths, and that's a pretty powerful gift.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that it is what you said. But I've constantly always been that way. Even when I was 16 years old, I used to spend a lot of time at home, and my whole thing is that I would always look at both sides to things. Now, if this happens and it's for the good, that's wonderful. But if it isn't, this is the only thing that will happen. Do you know what I mean?
Right,
When
right.
it doesn't work out. So that I'm able to deal with those fears, because
Yeah.
a lot of people are afraid of fear itself, the unknown.
Well, we want to protect ourselves, and we have lots of different ways of protecting ourselves or putting up those walls. When you have the strength to see what goes beyond the should, or what goes beyond the structure that you've made so that you feel safe, and it's usually a house of cards. It's going to fall in at some point. Well, I mean, not all the time, but in general, when we have a lot of expectations, those expectations show up and say, no, I don't think so. It doesn't really work that way. Then we can see the miracles. But when we're insisting that a miracle, and it has to look like this, and it has to be this person, and it has to be this time, and if it doesn't happen that way, then there's no such thing as God, and there is no miracles, and there is no soul. And I have to say, well, let's start all over again. Let's go back and take a look at the expectations that you have, and then let's take a look at how your life really does work. And that's where we start to find the power. And you sound like you know that already, intuitively. You have that, and you know that.
Yeah, I do have intuition, but it isn't as good. I used to have visions and stuff like that,
Oh, no
the way they
kidding,
would come
yeah.
out. And the thing is that it stopped happening. And it's like,
That stopped happening, but something else started happening.
right.
It shifts. That's what people
I
don't
was
get.
really shocked when it happened a few times. It was so vivid in my imagination, and then a half hour later, it was there. Do you know what I mean? I was
Wow,
faced with it
wow.
twice. And as a young child, not a young child, as a teenager, I went, oh my God. You know, I mean, I had a vision that I was going down the Cape, and I knew these people were there. I had no idea where they were. And then my thought was, as soon as we go around the corner, I'm going to see them. And sure enough, there
you
they
did.
were.
Very nice.
You know, and I didn't know where they were staying. I didn't know where their cottages were. It just happened. So I've been trying to do that again, and it just doesn't seem to work for me. I just,
You know what? I bet
I'm
you
too
do
cluttered
it.
right
With
now.
I know we are cluttered and we have a lot of stuff around. But what happens? You were very free, and during that time, you were easy. You were a kid, so you didn't have a lot of, not as many burdens as you do now.
responsibilities.
Yeah, right. So you could allow that. What I call that. Many people call that source, or allow the flow, the river of life, or allow. There's so many names people call it, but that river, that flow, and you were connected to that flow. And I have my sense is that you still are connected to that flow, but it's not the way it was when you were younger. It's more mature. It's more at your age. And so when you say you could see things a couple different ways, I feel like what you're seeing is you're seeing how the river could go this way, and the river could go this way, but that way is going to dry out. It's not going to work. But this one has, even though you're not sure you're going to go that way, this one has more water in it, or this one has more flow. And we can access that understanding through our emotions. When I said clairsentient, it's clear feeling, but also clear cognizance, which is clear knowing, when you just know something. And there's no reason why you would know that, but you feel it's right and you know it. And that is as powerful as having visions, which is clairvoyant. So just the clairvoyance often will shift, especially in mediums, will shift to something else. So clairvoyant and clairaudient, where you kind of hear an inner voice within yourself, and it's right. It's holy mackerel. I heard that, and it's right. those gifts, when they shift to clairsentient, clear feeling, and when you feel something, and clear knowing when you know something, those are the powerful gifts. Those are the gifts. So you want to listen to those. You want to be aware of that. The other day was a really tiny thing, but I had this picture of I was going to go visit a friend, and that it was snowing, and I was going to slip on the ice. And I didn't really go visit a friend, but I had to run an errand to the doctor's, and I got out, and I almost fell on my panty. It was the ice that I was seeing. I kept seeing that ice, and I was attaching it to visiting a friend, but actually it was there, Nancy, there's going to be ice in 12 hours, be careful. And when I stepped down and I remembered that I was seeing that ice, I said, oh, this is no joke, this is real. So it was like a really convoluted way of showing up, but it did show up, and it did help me to be more aware of my environment and my surroundings. I wasn't surprised, I was prepared for it. So so for you, I have to say that's probably what's going on in a very simple, mundane way. But we have, like you said, you foreshadowed your son was saying, I don't want to die, and you said you won't die, but you were preparing your son and your soul, and the angels were preparing the family to move forward. My dad called me. He fell, is how he passed. And I said, geez, I got to call him. I just really had such a strong feeling. I got to call him. So I call him middle of December, 2nd or 3rd or 4th. I can't remember the dates. And he said to me, he's in Michigan, right? And he's living in assisted living. I'm in here on the East Coast, and I have a 2-bedroom place. And he called me. He says, I hate it here. I just hate it here. He's 91. He goes, I'm going to go back and get my driver's license, and I'm going to drive out and see you.
Shut off?
Did it shut off?
Yeah.
Oh.
We're still on YouTube.
Okay.
But no, it was like amazing that it just
stopped.
Right
oh,
there,
maybe my dad did that. Well, anyway, he told me, those. He goes, I want to come. I don't want to be here anymore. Can I come live with you? And then he said, well, I'm going to come visit you. We'll call and make sure I'm here. And I got off the phone with him, and I just felt like, this isn't right. I tried to call my sister, but by the time I got in touch with her, he had already fallen. And that was the beginning of, I think he was about a month, about 4 weeks, and then he passed. Well, no.
Isn't that amazing?
2.5, yeah. And because I had this feeling, I didn't like what he was saying. I just had this feeling about the way he said it. He's always complaining, but just the way that he did it that time. And and I wasn't surprised when he took that fall. And then he would get better a couple days and then get worse, and then he started to go downhill. And I wasn't surprised. I was so upset, and sad and on edge. But somehow we were all prepared for it in some subtle, unconscious way. And those are the signs that, as a medium or a psychic, that I build up to sensitivity towards. So I could, not that I could be vigilant and wait for the next shoe to fall, but that I could be aware, like, oh, there's going to be ice when I step out of my car today, that kind of thing. Yeah. So that we're living in that flow that isn't, it's not, I didn't say it right. It's not the flow of bad news, but it's the flow towards well-being. It's the flow towards being whole and healed. I'm just giving you little tiny pieces. I could do a whole class on it, but will
Why
we
don't
trust
you?
it? I think I would. Yeah. So
We have a beautiful place here. You should
Yeah.
come down and do. I know it's. Where do you go? Where do you live? In
oh, in Haverhill, I was 45 minutes
yeah,
to get here.
but I'm just saying that we're always looking for shows, and
Oh.
we did have a someone that did predictions.
Oh, cool. Oh, fun.
We had a reader here. I don't think she's here anymore, but we have a radio show next door.
Oh, let's try it out. Yeah, because in my radio show, like I said, I started to explain it. The whole progression of soul power, not to be a psychic, not to be a medium, but to be fully in your life. And that's
Right.
what
And I think it's a good thing that maybe you and Barbara can do something here.
oh, that's a good idea.
You know, because all you have to do is I don't know how much the membership is now, but become a member, and they give you the time. You just tell them when you'd like to book it, and you can have a weekly show.
That'll be fun. That
Yeah.
would be fun.
It was fun. You know, like when I first came here, I said, look, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I really think the way to get it out to people about addiction is to have a TV show. I said, I have had nothing. I've done Dale Carnegie, so I learned how to speak to people. And, you know, being on TV doesn't bother me at all, and I have no problem talking. Sometimes I forget a word here and there. It's like, all of a sudden you say, gee, what happened? I just can't remember that word, but whatever. So to make a long story short, I started, I had recovery centers. I had parents that have lost their children. I have a woman that makes teddy bears out of the clothing of people, their lost loved ones' clothing. And I had one mother say that when she's really feeling down and she's thinking of her daughter, she will grab that teddy bear and hug it.
Oh,
Because it still has the DNA in it
yeah.
and everything, so that gives them some comfort.
That also, going back to that, as you hug it, you're also hugging yourself. You're also exchanging that love back and forth that was so important, and bringing yourself to calm, to peaceful, and so that creative energy within yourself can begin to heal you, and begin to help you see it from another perspective, and have another point of view, that's what healing's all about. We can't go back to the way it was before. It's done. It's over. But the new normal, what somebody called it the new normal, the new essence, is really, and I hate to say this, but we connect more deeply to our spirit and our soul when we have these things that happen, and that's when life really starts happening.
Right.
Because we're not trying to make the world fix it like this. We're allowing it to flow, we're embracing it, and we're okay, even though the tornado took our house out.
Right. And the whole, you know, I was thinking about that just as you were, we lose someone, and then a lot of people forget about us because they don't know how to deal with that pain. They don't know how to talk to you about your loss. So a lot of times you lose a lot of people that are close to you that you need to be able to get through that.
I wish people would, we're afraid. In our world, in our society, you know, our neighborhood, we're afraid of death. We think it's contagious, and that it'll rub off on us, and it's not necessarily the case. First of all, we have a beginning, middle, and end. None of us are getting out of here alive. And
Right.
So the sooner
Really?
the sooner we figure that one out and help each other through it, the happier we'll be.
And now I'm retiring on Wednesday.
Good for you.
So it's like I'm saying to myself, now what are you going to do next? If someone says, what other job are you going to take? Because this is my second retirement.
You are so funny.
And I said,
What's in your heart to do? What do you want to do?
I don't know. Well, I'm probably going to be doing something in the neighborhood of addiction full time.
Yeah.
You know, that's one thing that I was going to do when Frankie died. I wanted people to know his story. I wanted people to know what happened to him, you know, because first thing, a lot of time with stigma, people label addiction and the people that are suffering with it.
Yeah.
And I wanted them to know the wonderful human being he was. And a lot of people do know that because he used to, he had a lot of friends that cherished him and loved him. And the thing is, it's the outsiders, the people that knew about his addiction. Let's face it, everybody knows what's going on in other people's lives, but they don't have the right story. Do you know what I mean? You can assume. We have a lot of people that will assume things. And the thing is that I don't want anybody to assume anything. See, I want them to know exactly what happened to him. And at first I said, would he want me to do that? And then I was at peace with it, and I said yes, he
would want you to know that.
You know, and then I have my youngest son, and a lot of times I never mentioned him because I didn't want to do something that he wouldn't agree with. But then I spoke to him about it, and he said it was fine with him. You know, you don't want to. It's not my. You know, I mean, yes, he is my son. We will talk about different things.
What is the story that's your story to tell, and what is the story for your living son to tell, and what is the story, the legacy that your son who passed wants to bring forward?
I'll tell you, when I first went to, I went to the State House, and we were showing anonymous people there to the House of Representatives, and my first thing was to tell them that I'm a mother that's, you know, dealt with addiction for over 20 years, and that I had a sad story, and the sad story is that I lost my son, and that the happy story was that I have one that has survived, you know, and told them, you know, and I told them what was going on, you know. And now there is just so much out there to help you.
Good.
You know, I mean, you look at all these recovery centers that are here. They're not in Florida. They're here in Massachusetts.
Yeah. Now, do you feel? And it's me asking. I don't know the answer. You're not supposed to ask the question unless you know the answer. But I don't know the answer to this. Do you feel that the medical and the mental health industry has coming to understand the nature of addiction and what that's all about? Or
I think
they're doing more research.
I think they do. They're doing a little bit more research, and they're bringing things into it. Like a lot of recovery centers are now bringing in meditation and yoga, and in the gym. My son goes to the gym every day. That's his way of dealing with, because we have a lot of energy.
Oh my God.
You know, and the thing is, and we all. I always feel that we all have. We're all creatures of habit. We have, what is a habitual?
Right.
Some people eat. Some people are workaholics. What is? See, I can't find that word right now.
Habits that are compulsive, that we have.
Compulsive behavior.
We have to do it in order to feel like we're okay. So if I was going to talk about addiction from an energetic point of view or a spiritual point of view, it's just it's the disconnect from that you have in your life and your mind from your spirit and your soul. The mind has taken over and the biology's taken over, and you have the wrong messages going to the wrong places in terms of spirit. You're not going to your source of yourself anymore, and you're bypassing it. And there's usually some stuck energy in there from emotions or from expectations that weren't met that you just keep looping back into it. And so and there's a vibrational problem in there. The vibration is held very low. So we go to get the nurturing and the sustenance from something where we're starving, and that what's feeding us is making us starve even more. And we can do that with drugs and alcohol. We could, like you said, you do it with your job, you could do it with an attitude, you could do that with relationships where you, how many men and women do you know that keep picking the same kind of partner that they're so unhappy with? So you can do it with relationships. And to me, it's coming back to your spirit, coming back to your soul, coming back to the power that is you. And that's the piece. I feel like there's, in a lot of addicts, whether it's drugs, alcohol, relationships, or anything else, there's a soul piece, the soul part that's missing, soul retrieval. I also feel that sometimes if it's chemical, there's acupuncture or something like that. And we ask ourselves to handle stuff just in our minds. It's mind over matter, and I'm going to discipline myself out of it. But the whole problem is in your mind anyways, and the addiction's in your mind. It's in the brain cells, and your mind is telling you the wrong thing. So if it's mind over matter, the mind's going to trick you and take you right back to the same place. So I feel that meditation, inner work, soul, really kind of coming into your letting go of everything that you think should and getting back to what feels right, not what you think is right, but what it resonates with you, one step at a time. That would be why I think there's so much addiction going on, because we're in a society that's really disconnected from itself.
And another thing is now they're starting to work with more dual diagnosis. They know that they need to take care of the mental health issues in order to take care of the addiction.
Well, it's another piece in our world for many, many, many hundreds of years is mental illness has been a disgrace. It's been a sin. It's been this. It's been that. If you go back and to some of like Native American traditions or any tradition that's closer to the earth, there and have more healers and shaman type people in their culture, they see the schism of the soul. They see the problem in the spirit, and that's what gets healed first, as opposed to imposing something that's out here onto you. And there is a lot of wisdom there, and I would love to see some of those old, I don't want to just go to Native American, I want to go to Wiccan, I want to go to the different tribes and all around the world. What do they do with the mental illness, and how much mental illness do they have when they're more connected to
That would
who
be
they
interesting.
are? Yeah,
I'll go with you.
let's go. Where do you want to start? Yeah.
We already went over 11 minutes. So what you could do now is mention to the people that are going to be watching us on YouTube how they can get a reading from you or...
Oh, yeah. So getting a reading from me is going on to angelscapes.net, and that's my website. And you can just contact me through that website and schedule a reading, or just contact me, send me an email, and I'm interested right from my website. And if you can't do that, if it doesn't work for you, you can email me at nancy@angelscapes.net, or you can call me on my business line.
Well, I'm going to call you.
All right, so my business line is 978-835-0005. And also...
Mention it again, because sometimes they won't get it the first time.
Okay, so angelscapes.net. I don't even know where to look, but angelscapes.net, 978-835-0005, or nancy@angelscapes.net. Another thing through the book, that book that's been behind us the whole time, Divine Love Affair and Akashic Journey, is on Amazon, and inside that book is a way to contact me as well. So sometimes people will read the book, read a chapter, go, oh, this is something I want to work on, and then I'll get a reading. They'll call me for a reading or a consultation, and I do more than just one-off readings. I do series of consultations where I'll walk people through working on a specific issue, and those we can buy bulk packages with discounts, you know. So that's the direction that I'm going in with my work, is to walk people through soul empowerment and soul connection. So we can heal the parts that are getting in their way and find out who they really are.
Very good. Thank you again for coming.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
I'm sure we'll see each other quite often.
Wonderful. I'm looking forward to it.
I would love to.
All right, thanks.
Get connected.
Yeah, yay.
Those parts that are still out there not knowing what they're doing in this body needs to find out.
Absolutely.
I always love to look within.
Absolutely.
You know, I was always told that I should really be a counselor because I listen.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just have to listen and not give advice.
You listen, and you have, here's the thing what you have. You listen, but you also have inner wisdom, and you also have an inner strength. Like somebody could sit down, I feel anyone could sit down with you, tell you anything, and you're going to be solid as a rock. You're going to hold the form. You're going to hold the energy. They're going to feel safe talking to you. And then as they feel safe talking to you, they're going to hear themselves talk, and they're going to start to understand themselves and begin the healing process just by you giving them the love, just the way you're listening to me now, giving me love. And so
I love you, Nancy.
But, do you see what I mean?
And I love Barbara.
Oh,
I'm sure you're watching, Barbara.
She's
we'll have to meet someday and have a reading and do whatever.
Yeah, so come out this Saturday. Did she tell you?
No, I won't be able to.
Okay, and then what else? There's another.
Not
There's a
this
couple
Saturday,
other. There's a few more things coming up. So,
Oh, good. Now I'm retired. I'll be around, but I won't be around Saturday.
All right. Well, I kind of talked her into we got to do this more than once.
Yeah.
So
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Thanks for
Good night.
watching.
take care.
I'm going to go and have my friend shut that off. So you can tell someone's still watching you.
They're still watching me. Oh my God.
Hello. You okay?